What would you say is something we need to learn, or that people need to learn if they are single? What do they need to learn about dating?
I think the dating thing is really hard right now. I do want to be so empathetic and sympathetic to the fact that I think it is just like so tough out there. And I just feel for people who are trying to navigate it, especially like young Christian people. Oh my gosh, it just sounds really hard. I will say that just I think in relationships in general, the scarcity-abundance framework has been really interesting to me. And I personally, being a few years into marriage now, I'm finding it to be really fruitful in like the context of friendship. But I really think it applies to dating too. And this is just, I think we have a picture of abundance in our minds that has been formed by like the surrounding culture, like the world that we're in. Maybe it's social media, where we're going to find like, at least when it comes to friends, right? It's like we're going to find this friend group of people who are like super hot, who like look the way that we envision ourselves in our best form, and they have all the same interests, and they're really interesting, and they, you know, we go on these great vacations together, and it's going to look a specific way, right? When in actuality, when it comes to fruitful friendships, a lot of the time, God calls us into relationship with people who don't look like our perfect vision of a friend. You know, they might be really different from us. They might not contribute to our lives in a way that we think they're going to. But again, as I think I said earlier, like if you truly believe that everyone has value and everyone has something to contribute, then we need to be the kind of people that are looking for that, and that we're able to receive it and see it. And we're able to receive that benefit that they bring to our lives. And I think when you extend this idea into dating, people do something very similar in our experience with young adults, especially, where it's like if they're not immediately like, oh my gosh, that's the hottest person I've ever seen in my entire life, they're like off the table of someone that they want to date. If they're not instantly like fitting into whatever mold has been formed by this cultural picture of romance and what they're attracted to, like we need to be in all areas of life, but particularly in dating, so critical of our attractions. Because our attractions are flippant. Our attractions, I don't think I meant flippant. Our attractions are subjective. Our attractions can be very formed by false things. Our attractions are not ultimate. And our attractions then can also be formed in really healthy and positive ways in maybe directions we didn't see them going. So maybe there's abundance for you in a relationship that you've already written off. And I don't want people who are in that dating space of life to pre-decide what God might be able to do with your like romantic life, you know, like don't write people off. Don't say no. Don't let your attractions determine everything about the way that you proceed in this area. And just having seen a lot of people go through this whole circus that is like modern dating, I think that's one of the big takeaways that I've kind of seen.
Do you think people can determine what they're attracted to? Or do you think it's more natural?
I think I'm a little bit of both. I think two things can be true. I think your attractions can be very innate and very predetermined by like biology. But I also think that like anything else, we are formed by the water that we swim in. We are formed by the experiences that we had in childhood. We are formed by the things that we're struggling with now. And, you know, if you're like really struggling financially, then like a man with a ton of money is going to be really attractive to you. Like it makes sense, but does that mean that your entire life should be formed around finding someone who has a ton of money? No, that's like a terrible way to go about a relationship. So I think, you know, just kind of acknowledging and being skeptical of your own attractions is really important. Like not throwing them all out automatically, but also to realize like that is not the end all be all of a happy relationship or the determinant of the value of another person. And I think a lot of the time across the board, we base our treatment of other people and the way that we legitimize, like even just like the space they take up in our lives based on our attractions toward them or the way that we feel about them. And that is, again, like a fundamentally unbiblical concept if you're coming at it from a Christian perspective that acknowledges the inherent dignity of every single human being. But also, it's not going to get you very far if you're just leaning on like your own, what like feels right. Like it doesn't work in any area of life. It's not going to work in dating either.
No, yeah, I think that's really good. What are some filters that someone could take when it comes to building a friendship or determining who they maybe are attracted to? What are some things that they could be asking themselves to help them on this journey?
I think it's really essential to, again, sort of returning to some ideas we talked about before, but to be the kind of person who is open to be challenged, like who is open to, there's a Bible verse that says iron sharpens iron, right? And I think we assume that that's going to be like a comfortable and easy thing. And it's super not. Like if you've ever watched like somebody forming iron, like it's almost like a dramatic, I mean, as a metaphor, you'd imagine that it's a little bit painful to be like struck over and over with this hot heat on you. Like, so I think that's true in relationships and in deep community, is like, you should expect that it's going to be uncomfortable for you to be driven in the direction of excellence in any way. So if anyone makes you feel entirely comfortable about everything in yourself, that's actually a red flag. When in actuality, I think in our culture, we really want someone who just makes us feel like safe and comfortable. So I think look for that discomfort that has really great results in your life. Not discomfort for the sake of it, but like, is this making me more like Jesus Christ in my life? And, that can be difficult to discern sometimes, but I think actually over enough time, it's like anything else, like the fruit that relationship bears will be very clear. So I think opening ourselves up to that possibility and being prepared to like fight for people. That's another thing we don't do a lot very much, is like fight for the good of others, and sticking with people through hard seasons in their life. And if you are continuously in a space of, having to like bear this burden for someone else, that's something to look at. Like we don't want that to be true of our relationships. We want there to be like a great deal of mutuality, but at the same time, don't give up on people because they're not perfect, I think is really what it comes down to. So that would maybe be another thing I'd encourage people to really look at.